the recording. My name is Stuart Carter. I am the GIS manager for Southwark Council. GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems, and I look after all geospatial data and services. So that's data about place, and about the not just the data, but also the services and all of the functions that kind of surround that. One of the main pillars of the service is called Southwark Maps. Now, this is an interactive mapping service available for staff and for residents and for anybody who can access the internet. So today I can show you around Southwark Maps, show you what it can do, what it can show you. I'm more than happy for the conversation to go off in any kind of tangent. You know, if I can follow it, I can follow it. If I can't, then you know, I can try to advise accordingly. You can ask questions as you go, or wait until the end. I really don't mind. Right. So let's try to share our screen. Okay, hopefully you are seeing a map of of Southwark Park. Excellent, excellent. So this is Southwark Maps, and I shall put the link into the chat. Okay. Right. So the first thing to think about really is just imagine Google Maps. I mean, you know, pretty much everybody has used Google Maps, I'm sure. And just think of it as it's an interactive mapping site. You can zoom in, zoom out, see what's there, run an address search. The difference is that this is Southwark Council's own service. And importantly, we're using Ordnance Survey mapping. So it's very much to be trusted. And it's more detailed than the mapping you'll get on Google Maps. So typical arrangement, very similar to Google Maps. Just to move around, you just click and drag, like so. And then you can also zoom in and you can zoom out. The further you zoom in, the more detail you see. The further you zoom out, the less detail. So lots of different ways of zooming in. You can see in the bottom left corner here, you have a plus and minus button. You can just click on the plus button and it zooms you in. And you can see as I'm zooming in, you're getting down into really detailed mapping. This is called OS Master Map. OS Master Map mapping. So the actual details of buildings. There's a minus button there. You can click on that to zoom out. You can also use the wheel. If you have a wheel on your mouse, you can use that to zoom in and zoom out. You can double click as well on a location just to zoom in. You can also hold down the shift key on your keyboard, draw a box on the screen, and that zooms into that particular location. I use that method all the time myself, and it's useful if you know, I'm sure you will do, if you know the borough very well. You know, rather than click, you know, you can just go click on shift, draw a box of any size, and just get straight into the area of interest. In the top left corner, you have a address search. So this is connecting to Southwark's LLPG, which is a local land and property gazetteer. So the LLPG is an address database which is built to British national standards. Each local authority in the country builds its own LLPG, and that it gets used internally, but it all gets merged to create an NLPG, a National Land and Property Gazetteer, which then becomes the national address database. So on this, in here in Southwark Maps, we use the LLPG, Southwark's address database. In the address bar, you can search for a postcode, a street name, a postcode and street number, or a building name, or an organisation name if that exists. The more detail you get, the fewer the results. But you know, typically, if you were to do 14 West, 14 West Square, you get some matching results. Very simple. Just click on the matching results, and you zoom in. So this is very simple. Just click, you know, address search. You could also run just an address, a postcode search as well. SE114SN. and you can see you get all those matching addresses for that postcode. Click on the one you want and it will zoom in. Now you always get this little marker here, just sort of telling you where it is. You can also do SE11 4SN and then space and then the building number, or the house, the street number, space 7, and that really narrows down the search. Alternatively, you can type in a street name, and it will go into the addresses for that street. You also get any other streets in London, but you don't get the individual addresses. But you do get the individual addresses for, if it's the E Street in Southwark, you'll get those addresses there, and you can just click on that, and the map will centre on that location. You could also put in building names, Kingswood, and that finds anything where the word Kingswood is in the address. So Kingswood Estate. And also organisation names, so it's Tesco. You just click on that, type that in, click on the result, and it finds it. So you can see with this address search, it's very flexible. It's updated every single day. It's managed internally, and yeah, there's a whole process where it's connected to planning and street naming, numbering. It's it's a live database. Okay, so we can just run an address search. You can also just pan around and find where you want to go to. On the right side, the panel here on the right, this is just think of it as an interactive legend or a key. So at the moment we're just seeing the mapping, but the thing with all kinds of GIS is that you can put things on top of it, which gives you greater context. So we have all kinds of categories here, and there are quite a few data sets in here, some of which are going to be of interest, some perhaps not. All you do, you click on the tick there next to housing estates, for example, and the housing estates appear on the map. Remember I said double click zooms in, but a single click is called an info click, so it's tell me something about that feature. So if you single click on a feature, it says here in the left column, it says the name of the feature. So in this case, Kipling Estate, or that one there, Tyres Estate. Now you can have multiple layers on. You don't have to have just one. The more layers you have on, the more sort of messy the map looks, but you're in control of that. If I open up the folder here for planning applications and appeals, you can see here that this shows you all of the planning applications and appeals managed by Southwark Council. This is updated every single morning at, I think, 7 AM, maybe 6:30, and it comes directly from our iDocs uniform planning system. So uniform exports data, I then consume it in here and have it mapped. Lots of different flavors of applications and appeals, and you can just click on the one of interest to you. So outstanding planning applications perhaps, and also large major planning applications. So you can see when you click on a tick, it appears on the map. You can see the color coding there to give you an idea of what they are.
Stuart,
yes.
Could you bring up the Peckham Town Centre on the map so that we could see these things as they look like in Peckham Town?
Yeah, yes, of course, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, just pan down. Go. They're around there.
Yeah, it's the sort of Peckham High Street to Peckham Rye, the end of Rye Lane.
Yeah. There you go.
So those red squares are all planning applications, aren't
well,
they?
these are the outstanding planning applications. Yeah, absolutely.
And will you hover over them so they can see? Yeah,
so a single click is tell me about that feature. And you can see here where I've clicked at this location, there happens to be 2. You see a little number here in the left column, outstanding planning applications 2. So there are actually 2 planning applications located
Could you just do it so that Peckham High Street, which is at the top, is it in the screen?
2 dots stacked up there, and you can see here in the left, these are the details of that planning application. So you have the UPRN, that's a unique property reference number of the address. You have the eastings and northings, so these are the geographic coordinates. You have the application number, which is the important one. There's the system key. You probably don't need that. That's more of a uniform value. But then you have the address of the application, a short description, some other details. It's case officer's name, phone number, and then you have a more details tab here, which hopefully, when you click on it, that should take us to the planning application page for that particular application. Yeah, so that took a bit longer. There might just be an issue with my web connection at the moment. So on each one of these planning applications, whenever you click on it, you get a little link there called More Details. Click to open, and that will go into the planning portal where you can find out all kinds of things about the planning application. You can see there.
Stuart, could you scroll just slightly up to the north?
Yes.
Because Benny just told us about the planning application. Could you scroll that square kind of in the middle there where
south of Peckham Hill Street?
Yeah, no, it's just over to the right. It's got post office just to the bottom.
Oh, what's the address?
98.
98 Peckham High Street.
This one there? So it looks that one?
That's the one, yeah.
So single click on that, and yeah, so no decision at the moment. But if you click on, you can go and find more, click on more details, and that will go into a planning portal. And you can find out whatever you need to know about that.
That's fantastic.
Good.
Absolutely fantastic. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, it is great, but yeah, especially when you don't know it's there. You know, if you didn't know it's there already, you know, and it's like our first time, that's a real moment. So lots of different flavors of applications and appeals, and you know, you put on the one you are interested in, or you just put them all on. You'll notice when I click on the folder, some of them only have one layer in, such as housing estates, but one of them, others, such as planning applications, has multiple layers on. Now, with the tick controls, you can, if you put the tick on it next to the folder, all of those subcategories open up. But if you don't want that to happen, click on the folder first, the folder icon, and then turn on the ones you want. Or you tick on that tick and then they all appear. So it's whatever you prefer.
And how far back does this go, Stuart, these planning applications that you can view on this system?
Well, if you asked me that question a few years ago when we were using Accolade, I think it went back to 2005.
Perfect.
But I think it might be different now. I don't know. To cut to the end, I don't know the answer, but I believe that it's changed since we went over to uniform.
Okay.
But it's something I can find out.
Oh no, it's fine. It's just so we know it's sort of a comprehensive, every single application that's been submitted, whether it's been appeals, upheld, approved, declined, and it just goes back for the last sort of roughly 15, 20 years. That's just useful to know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you have these two layers here called decided applications with legal agreement and decided applications without legal agreements. The green and blue squares.
Yeah, and this is where you can see what section 106 was agreed.
I don't.
You can, yeah. You can on the and that's public information as well.
Oh, okay, great.
Stuart, is there a kind of interface where you can print information from?
Yes, there is. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So you can set up your map how you like it. And by the way, we haven't even got onto listed buildings yet, or conservation areas, or the old maps, the historic maps. But wherever you are, you can click on. You can do two things. You can right click on the map and click on. I'm using Chrome here, so different web browsers have slightly different functionality, but most of them will have a right click, save image or copy image. So you can just copy image and then paste into something else, maybe into a document or something like that.
Yeah.
That's a quick way of doing it. But you can also use it has a PDF writer within it. Up here in the little cogwheel, in the options, there's a function called print preview. Click on that, and that puts that map wherever you were viewing. It puts it into a PDF template. And you can see, actually, you can kind of fine tune in there. If you thought, actually, that's not the area I wanted, I did actually want, over here, you can move around in there. You can zoom in a bit more or zoom out if you like. You can put.
Sorry, I was going to say one problem I've had with the mapping is the icons have to be placed exactly over the building or the site in question. If it's slightly wrong, then you can chase your tail going all around the houses trying to find adjacent ones which are the right ones. I mean, is this a general problem, or is it just me choosing the wrong? So
the actual, for example, the actual blue dot on the map. Well, they're located. I
mean, they are. I can see they're usually located within the curtilage of the building,
yes,
as far as possible. But sometimes they're not. They're in the garden or they're next door, and
okay, yeah. Okay, so I think Southwark Council would want to know about those ones. Let me have a think about the best process for a resident telling the council about that. But yeah, we'd definitely want to know that. The process, incidentally, by the way, is when an application for, I'm not in planning, by the way, sorry, I have a rough understanding of it, but the general process is when an application first comes in, and the very first person who assigns it, they look at the address and they assign they look at the address and they find out what the UPRN is. That's the unique property reference number from the LLPG. Each point in the LLPG has a geolocation, so a point on the map, and it's at that very point where they say, right, this application belongs here. So if it's the case that here is incorrect, then we've got the wrong location in the LLPG. Yeah, so the placement of that point starts very, very, very early in the process. But yeah, let me have a think about the best way of residents letting us know about those, because we do want to know.
And the other problem I've had is where you get multiple applications for the same property, so your icons just have to be careful. If one oversights the other, then you can't see what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's right. I think what would be really, really useful is if we could have a special kind of a special type of icon that says there are multiples at this location.
Yeah,
that would be nice. Unfortunately, that we don't have that. The only way of knowing is when you actually click on the icon. There's a number here. So here it says number 1, or just 1. Sometimes it may. Oh, here we go. Look, 7. So at this location, there are actually 7 applications, but of course you only see one icon on the map. There are actually 7 dots there, but you can't see it because they're all stacked on top of each other. That's because they're all referenced to the same building, which has the same eastings and northing, and it just flows from there. But I take your point.
Yeah, they're also available if you click related applications. They're also available on the Southwark planning portal as well. So that information is all available. But via the Southwark website, as well.
Yeah. Okay, so I was showing you the printing. Didn't quite finish that. So click on the cogwheel, print preview. You can fine tune in your little print preview window here. You can put in a title if you want to, just up there. and it appears here. So whatever you want to call the map, you get the little legends there. So whatever layers you have switched on, they'll appear in the legends. You get the north arrow, today's date. Yep, you get scale, and a little scale bar there. Click on export PDF, and that writes it's export PDF. So it kind of writes a PDF, and then you just save that to wherever you want to save it. And there you go. There it is. You know, that's your PDF. That's a slightly more formal way of getting a kind of a statement print from the map. And there are no limits to how many of those you can create. It's all open data. Okay. So we're looking at planning applications. So there are many different data sets available for you. I'm going to scroll further down. I heard parking bays were mentioned earlier. We do have parking bays maps. Yes.
I have a quick question for you. In our Southwark Conservation Area Advisory Group meeting yesterday, it was suggested that the digital mapping service would be a way to consult on the local list that we're so excited about here in Peckham. Tell us how that's all going to work.
I don't know, because I'm not part of that project.
No, that's something
Sorry.
you'll need to speak to Michael Sokaris. So Stuart Carter is a technical expert on mapping systems, and he doesn't work in planning. So so that's why I've kind of interjected with some of the planning stuff.
No, that's fine. However, I suspect, Benedict, I suspect that I will be pulled into that project at some point, because they're going to need me at some point or another. But yeah, I can't answer your question at the moment. You mentioned the local list. So this is the listed buildings, the locally listed buildings.
That's correct. Apparently, the digital mapping system is going to be used as a way to let everybody know, which is what Southwark are proposing in terms of the local list.
Do you know what? Actually, I am slightly involved in that already. I've just realised I am ever so slightly involved in that already. So I've actually been speaking with the design and conservation team, because they've approached me as to how do we build up our local list. I've given them all the advice they need, and I'm there to help them. Lots of hand holding. They've got to go away, do some thinking. They've got some work to do, but they are actually working on the base data set right now. And the idea is that those locally listed buildings will go in here into Southwark Maps, and you will be able to see them. Now, what process Southwark Planning are going to go through for the consultation, I don't know, but I do know that you will be able to see them in here at some point.
Yeah, and it's a Heritage England requirement as well. So I've spoken to Michael Sokaris about it as well. It's definitely happening. Okay, good.
Okay, so to quick run through some of these data sets. We have parking bays. Parking bays can be viewed in two different ways, either as a polygon or as a point, and your choice as to how you see them. So click on the points. I think I might turn off my planning applications. Right, yeah, they're quite small, these little parking bay points. You can just about see them there. Single click on one, and here on the left-hand column, it tells you something about that parking bay. So there's also parking bay areas. So these are polygons, so an actual shape on the map. There you go. Just takes a moment to come through. You see these green and yellow and red features. They're actually, it's really trying to be an exact description of an exact placement of the parking bay. Yeah, and there are many different types of parking bay, and I'm not going to go through all of those, but the same principle applies as before. Single click, and it tells you something about it. Okay, I'll turn those off. Further down the list, we have controlled parking zones. Turn those on now. Yeah, basic principle. You switch it on, and it appears on the map. So zoom into Peckham here. Single click on the map, tells you it's zone B. If you click there, it tells you it's zone PR.
Stuart.
Yes.
I know we've got just under 20 minutes left. Now, please,
Okay.
I know what this system does. Well, I
Yeah.
know not everything, but I know quite a lot of what this amazing system does. So other people, please interject. There were just 3 things that I thought might be really useful, and that's listed buildings,
Yep.
historic maps, and
Yep.
also if you see a building, we now know that we can figure out whether it's had sort of the history or current planning applications. But it would also be really useful if you could show people how, when you click on an area, you can see what ward, because without having to go to a ward
Yep.
boundaries map all the time, you click on that. So, oh, whose ward is that? What councillor do I need to speak to for that? So
Yes.
we can see our ward councillors and also our MP constituency as well.
Yep. Okay.
Could I add to that conservation areas as well? Could you just
Oh,
show us
yes.
in Peckham Town Centre?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Good call,
stuff.
Eileen. Yeah.
I mean around Peckham Town Centre.
Yeah. Okay. So further down this list, the legend on the right, I've switched on conservation areas. Also, there's a group here called listed buildings. I'm going to turn those on. So we have grade 1, grade 2, and just a few grade 2 stars as well. Do you know what? After this session, I'm going to put listed buildings above conservation areas in the order, because they really should be above.
Yeah,
I'll change that afterwards. But yeah, so I'll just switch off conservation areas here. So you can see here we have, what was that, 900 or so listed building grade 2 within the whole borough. And some large, some small features, some as small as a bollard. So there are actually some listed bollards up by Borough Market as well. So we use that term listed buildings, but it's really a bit listed building or a structure. I mean, in some places, so it's just a wall or some railings, or there's a K2 post phone box outside Guy's Hospital as well, which is also listed, and it features in the mapping. So you single click on the feature. It tells you the ID, the name, street number, its grade, date of listing. But importantly, you get this link to a listing description. You click on that. That goes into the PDF, the original PDF. This is just one page. Some of them they go on for 20 pages or so. But this gives you the listing documents. Single click on there, click to open. So you can go in and just see all those listed documents, which once upon a time just used to reside on some shelves in the town hall. They called them the greenback folders, and they're just a complete mess. And they're all being digitized and assigned to the shapes on the map, the actual features on the map.
That's fantastic. That's a fantastic resource.
Good. Yeah, so they're mostly mostly grade 2. But then there's one like this one, which is so you can see the red, so that's the grade 2 star. That is St Giles Church. Click on the listing description and you can just find out more about that. So start thinking about how many calls, how many inquiries to the switchboard or to your local councillor that this could avoid.
Yeah.
Where you can just go and get the information for yourself. Conscious that there's a councillor on the line, but it's still useful. Conservation areas, they're all there. Whenever we get a new conservation area in from the design and conservation team, they send it through to me and I get it mapped in there as soon as possible. So this is very much a live and correct representation of our listed buildings. Conservation areas. Right. Oh, one thing else I should show you about the layers. If I turn on grade 2 here, can you see there's three little dots next to each map layer? If you click on that, there's an option there called See Tabular Results. So as well as the actual shape on the map, all GIS is a table of information as well. So you can click on See Tabular Results, and on the left, in the left column here, this actually goes into the attribute table. And you can see it's split over multiple pages, but it is a way of just kind of browsing through the table, and and actually just seeing it that way. You can also click on one of the features on one of the records like so, and it will actually then go and zoom. Yeah, actually go and zoom to that location. Okay, what else? Okay, yeah, there's business improvement districts. If you ever need to know about those, they're all mapped. You can see, and yeah, okay. So boundaries, right at the bottom of this of the legend list, there's a group called boundaries. I just turn everything else off for the sake of tidiness. All kinds of different boundary sets, from LSOAs, the super output areas, to travel card zones, polling districts, MP, Westminster constituencies, all kinds of different sets. So I'll turn on there's one here called wards and councillors. This is showing you the ward boundaries.
Can you do it a bit bigger then for Peckham? Yes.
Yeah, sure.
So it would be good to look at the boundaries between Peckham Ward and Rye Lane Ward, which cut the town centre in two. So that's Rye Lane we've got there, and then the one just to the north of that is Peckham Ward. Can you get them both on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
not everybody's familiar with that, but that is actually, folks, if you see that, the boundary between Peckham Ward and Rye Lane Ward is right along Peckham High Street.
Yeah.
So we need to be in communication with the ward councillors in both wards because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now there's something which Magda pointed out earlier this week. So when you click on a ward, you can see in the left column it tells you the councillors. Now this has not been updated with all the recent changes in councillors. I will get that updated ASAP. But I apologise. At the moment, it's, I don't know which ones of these are still correct, but there are going to be some errors in there. I will get that fixed as soon as possible.
Claire, I've put two questions in the chat,
Yeah.
which, given that we're coming towards the end, I'd just like to draw attention to.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
I think we've answered the one about printing, Eileen, but do you want to ask the second one about copyright?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't catch what the answer was then on printing.
Yeah, so with printing, you have there are no restrictions whatsoever. You can print as much as you like. You can create the PDFs. You can, if it's there, it's available. We've already gone through the decision making. That it's available online.
How do you do it? How do you actually do it?
Oh yeah, so you could click on you create your map however you want it, with whatever layers you want switched on. Click on the cogwheel. It's just there in the top corner.
Okay.
Click on print preview.
Okay.
That puts that map into a PDF template, like a map template. You can add in a title if you want.
Excellent.
You can fine tune, and then you click on export PDF. And then that just saves it to wherever you want to save it.
And does that save it can you save it as an image as well as a PDF?
Well, yes, you can. I mean, I'm using Chrome. Different browsers have different settings, but if you right click on the map in Chrome, you have save image as and copy image.
Excellent. Right.
So you can.
So my other question then is about copyright and these things.
Yeah, copyright. So with the whether you're doing the save copy as, save copy, or save image, or you create the PDF, you can see down here in the bottom corner in very small text is the copyright statement. So that's just embedded into the map image. So that covers the Ordnance Survey data.
So we can just use them on social media and all the rest of it. Okay.
Yeah, you can do. Just yeah.
I mean, it's not for commercial reasons. It's all for information reasons. So I imagine it should be okay.
Yeah. Just if you're going to use it, just make sure that image is there, that statement is there. I mean, listen, we all know that anybody can crop a screen and not include that statement. Yeah. That's just one of these things. There's nothing I can do about that. But yeah.
Stuart, we've got another couple of questions here on the chat room. I'm just jumping in because
historics.
The first question from Paul Field is: can information be modified For example, he's talking about his business address where the company has moved out, but they're still listed. And the second question is about how can we access and use historic maps?
Yeah, okay. Right, on the how to change business addresses, those kind of things, I will get back to you. There is a street naming and numbering process within the council, and yeah, let me put that to that person and get back to you. Claire, if I can just send you a kind of a written answer on that one.
Sure, and I'll pass it on to Paul. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so historic maps. So wherever you are, wherever you are on the mapping, I'm going to turn off my boundaries. Right. In the right-hand column, just above the layers, you have a section called base map. And it's a drop-down list. And you scroll through, and there are many different base maps. It defaults to this one at the bottom, OS color map via Europa. It's our base mapping. You can also have a grayscale map if you prefer grayscale. But above that, we have a set of historic maps. And I can send Claire, I can send you a document of the extents, because there's some of them don't cover the whole of Southwark, or they're a bit kind of bit of a spread. But all you do, you click on the historic map you're interested in. So in this case, 1896 OS, and that flicks to the 1896 Ordnance Survey mapping. And you can see, you know, it's pretty detailed. And the same functionality works as before, the click and drag, the zoom in, the zoom out. And you can also add in your modern day overlays onto there. List of buildings, for example.
Wow. Fantastic.
And you can see that the alignment is pretty good. There's one big reason why the alignment isn't perfect, and that's because anything up to, I think it's 1965, 1963, the mapping was created on a imperial scale, an imperial coordinate system. Anything beyond that, and especially any kind of modern data sets, the overlays, is being created on a metric coordinate system. So that there's a weird kind of transformation between the two, and you can never quite get it right. You could get it right, but then the modern day features would be skewed. They get pulled in different directions, and then it just looks a mess. So, you know, it's never a perfect alignment, but it's, you know, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Stuart, we have another couple of questions here.
Yeah.
Are underground services such as drainage mapped?
Right. No. However, there is a huge project at the moment called the National Underground Assets Register, going through all local authorities in England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Scotland's doing their own thing, whether they're working together to bring in all of their asset information. Utility companies, streetworks companies are also adding in underground cabling and underground networks information, and it's all coming in. It won't be live for another couple of years, but it's all coming in, and eventually we will, at some point in the next couple of years, we will be able to see underground networks. But this is a massive national project, and they've just got so much work to do on that. So the answer is no, but, you know, in the future it will be there.
Thank you, Stuart. Just one last question from Marie Staunton, who's asked, can you just show us how to zoom again? Yeah,
sure. So lots of different ways to zoom in. You can use the wheel on the mouse. If you've got the little wheel on the mouse, just to drag that backwards and drag that forwards, that zooms in. You know, I use that quite a lot. Or you can also hold shift on your keyboard and draw a box like so, and that zooms in. You can also use the plus button in the bottom left corner, and that zooms in, and you can zoom out as well. So yeah, quite a few few different ways of zooming in. With the base maps, there are aerial ones that are going all. Our oldest is 1994 now. Not quite as sharp the 94 ones as the modern day ones, but still, you know, still of use. Got the 2010. There you go. And the most modern one is 2020, 5 centimeter resolution, so really, really nice and sharp. That's the most modern aerial imagery we have. So what you're doing here with this base map selection, you're just toggling between different base maps. The locations staying the same. Any overlays you've switched on are staying there. You're just changing the background. We have the 1940 RAF aerial capture as well. As you can see, it's quite a dark image, but you can over here in the Rotherhithe docks before they were all bombed. You can see all the docks there, and various bits which were docks and are now dry land. Okay, so it's the RAF one. Got an 1850. This is the oldest one, the 1850 streets. Not too much detail in terms of buildings, but it does show you the road outlines. There's a lot of what we call noise, all these speckles. When you're sort of scanning old maps, you do pick up what we call noise, and so it can be a bit messy like this. So that's the very oldest one. But then you have into 1879. The 1879 is quite sharp, and also yeah, there's some county series. 1896, the 1916, they're all quite sharp as well. Then you have others such as 64, 52. Weirdly, you know, you'd kind of expect the 1896 one to be a bit kind of threadbare, but actually it's these later ones such as 77 and 83 where, you know, we don't actually have an enormous amount of coverage. So you'll often see this kind of orange color. It's where, you know, we just don't have the tiles for that particular area, and I think 1983 is probably one of the worst.
Stuart, we could all spend the whole afternoon here with you.
Totally, yeah, absolutely. And there's so much I haven't gone through.
I'm just very conscious it's now 1:30, which when we sort of strictly thought we'd try to stop. Is there any last question just before we wind up, folks?
Just to say thank you very much, everybody who's involved in putting this together. It's been brilliant, and the fantastic work the council has done on bringing all this information together.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's really kind of exciting, and thanks so much for talking us through, Stuart. It's been really fascinating and inspiring.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. Well, I mean, look, for me, it's a labour of love, really. Yeah. Anything to do with mapping or geospatial data, and helping people to find answers or just to discover something interesting from the past. It's often said with staff that the historic maps are great, but it's just for kind of wasting time, and perhaps they are quite nice just to fill in some time, but they do have some serious uses within the authority, especially if someone's looking at maybe contaminated land, that kind of thing. So think about all the tanneries that used to be around Bermondsey. Not that we are planning on building a new waterworks in Bermondsey, but you can imagine that scenario about trying to understand, well, what kind of industry was at that location at the time, what kind of things could potentially be on the ground. So yeah, it's a labour of love, and I hope you can. I'll send Claire an email later today with all the details, and any of you can get in touch with me, and just ask any questions. I really don't mind. Yeah. Okay.
Well, look, apologies everyone that we had to move from Zoom to Teams. Sorry about that, but thanks Magda and Stuart for seamlessly enabling that to happen. So I think we should probably wrap up now. And we'll get the recording of this talk up on our website, so we can point people in that direction, and they can, you know, they can sort of enjoy this talk as well, and spread the word.
Yes, thank you very much, Stuart. Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. I'll also look out also in the email you'll get from Claire later. Thank you for the clap. We also have some downloads, some old map downloads as well. They're not interactive. It is, you know, just a download. Some really interesting ones there, and I'll put that into the email to Claire.
Lovely, brilliant, Stuart. Well, thanks a million, and
Okay.
another round of applause.
Thank you.
That was fantastic.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Thanks a lot,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Stuart.
Bye bye. All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Cheers. Cheers.